You're listening to Remotely We Are One, a podcast to help inspire others to take their lives back from the office commute. I'm Rick, a passionate beer rep who loves the industry but hates the commute.
And I'm Kaleem, a remote work advocate and consultant. We're going to speak with some of the top professionals who have managed to avoid the commute as they share stories from the most inspiring to the most comical, all while working remotely.
Man, this sounds exciting. Let's clock in.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shelby Wolpa, founder of Shelby Wolpa Consulting, based in Austin, Texas. I'm here at the Relead Summit in Washington, D.C.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Shelby.
Appreciate
you being
so
here.
much, Shelby.
Yeah.
Excited to be here.
We're talking a little bit about remote perks and strategies that go along with that.
Perks. Let's
Yeah.
just say it a few times.
I like perks. Everybody likes a good perk. I caught him. I knew I would do it.
I'm sorry. This is what we do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
So
Shelby.
as we mentioned before the tape started rolling, we were talking about the rise of remote work. And I'm wondering if companies should start to rethink, or if they have already, benefits and perks for remote workers. And if so, how do they do that?
Yeah, great question. Well, my background is a former head of people at many high growth technology companies. So I kind of grew in my career as the head of people in Silicon Valley in startups where perks were designed to keep people in the office as long as possible.
Okay.
We wanted to take care of your every need so that you could focus on what you do best, which was in most cases coding, and the company would take care of every need, your food, your laundry, your haircuts, your pet grooming, etc.
Cool.
It got wild and crazy. Now with the world going remote, companies need to rethink and reimagine what perks are meaningful for the remote worker, because we are at our homes. We can very easily fit those kind of day-to-day responsibilities in between meetings and before and after our workday, since we're not spending hours commuting anymore. And what matters to remote workers is completely different. Myself included, we want to feel that our work is meaningful. We want to know, very clearly what our goals are and what we're being held accountable to. And we want to just be set up to do our best work. But that's different than on-site laundry and on-site services. And so the work that I do with my clients is going through a series of listening exercises. So listening at all levels of the organization in lots of different formats to hear what remote workers value and what would be really helpful to them. And then rethinking. So figuring out what isn't serving us anymore, setting those policies, being daring enough to say, we've listened to you and we understand these things aren't being utilized and these things aren't being valued, but these new programs that we're rolling out or piloting are intended to support you, and we heard you and here's what we're delivering.
So as far as remote work perk, I love the example how before, where you were in San Francisco and you're dealing with startups, the ping pong table, basically Google having the campus, keeping you there longer to work. So what now? I guess it's two questions. What now are the purpose of the perks? Because before you explained the purpose was to keep you at work, but you're at home or you're working in another location.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing as the purpose of most of the perks? And then I got to ask you, what's a perk that you must have if you're a remote company?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So for me, there's kind of tiers to this.
Okay.
So there's the core basics that you have to have as a company. So you have to set your people up with the work from home tools that they need, such as their laptop, their monitor, keyboard, webcam, those kind of core tools. When the pandemic first started, and the companies that were working remotely pre-pandemic had this as well, most companies also have a new hire setup perk, to get you set up at your home office so that you can purchase a desk, a chair.
Like a technology stipend or whatever.
Yeah. So typically there's a one-time new hire setup perk.
Okay.
And then what many companies are choosing to do is also an ongoing stipend, maybe at a 2 or a 3 year anniversary, like your equipment is going to break or you're going to need new upgraded stuff, or you need to be kind of re-ergonomically fixed. And so giving you more money, after 2 years or after 3 years. Those to me are kind of the basics when I think about remote perks.
Okay.
From there, what companies are starting to reimagine is, so some of kind of the next core thing on my list is the time off policy.
Okay.
So
it's a perk.
It's a benefit / perk,
okay, good,
depending on
good.
how you define it. But time off and mental health become much more important to the remote worker. So things like time off, things like mental health, and learning and growth. So all these 3 things are being reimagined. Many companies are moving to more flexible time off policies when it comes to time off, or doing summer Fridays or all company shutdowns, wellness weeks, giving people really good time to be off, and really supporting people being off so that there's not this feeling that you always have to be on in the remote world. So that's time off is a whole category. Another category is mental health and wellness. So rethinking how to support people's wellness in a virtual world. So instead of having on-site yoga classes or on-site chiropractors, whatever it was, adding to your benefits and perks program so that everyone, regardless of location, can take advantage of these wellness perks. And then finally, learning and growth. So many of the clients that I work with are rethinking how they do learning and development of their organizations, reaching people in a virtual way, reaching people on kind of learn as you go, micro learning instead of, the cost and the time to bring people to a physical location. That's just not the way people are going to learn in the future.
Oh, and the last question was, what's the must-have remote work perk? If you're going to go remote work and you're going to offer a perk, what's the must-have?
Oh gosh, I really can't. The consultant in me can't answer that question because it really depends.
Yes! That's our purpose.
And it was well answered.
Well answered. It depends.
Okay.
You're absolutely
Thank
right.
you. I'm not going to you're trying to bait me and I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, he definitely
I
was.
definitely did. I tried
He
to
failed.
help
He failed
Really,
miserably.
Big time.
And that's kind of
Big time.
the kind of why perks get kind of laughed at or belittled is because they're thought of as kind of these things that any company could have it, like a ping pong table. And to me, that's starting with the end result, but it's really about kind of what do our people want? What are we hearing from them? What's going to help them set up to be their best? And that is something different for every person.
Can you give me a checklist of perks?
I will actually.
Give me a checklist of perks that I can just write down and do?
Well, so an even better answer to your question is this concept of more inclusive perks. So the general trend in the industry of perks is being less prescriptive. It's not a ping pong table. It's not a beer fridge.
We are, yes.
What people value and what keeps them well and happy is different for every person.
Mm-hmm.
And so having broader definitions and using stipends with a wide range of eligible expenses is where companies are going so that people can define for themselves what they need.
Okay, that's interesting. So in terms of where companies are going, I've been hearing this term lately called third space. And I'm hoping you might be able to elaborate on it because you mentioned it earlier. So I'm wondering if you could just tell our viewers what that term means.
Sure. Yeah. So it's something that I'm thinking a lot about as well, because the majority of the clients that I work with are hybrid organizations, which means that they have a combination of in-office workers and remote workers, or where they have maybe offices in certain cities, but they're distributed in many, many more places. And so they need to think about a solution for all of those people, because just because someone primarily wants to be a remote worker, it doesn't mean that they don't ever want another space to go to. And that's where this third space concept comes in. So it's not my home office. It's not the corporate office. It's a third space.
Oh, come on. Yeah, it makes so much sense.
It's so perfectly stated. I love it.
Yes. And so for people like me who were a head of HR, or there's many people in kind of facilities or workplace roles that are really starting to think about what their future office footprint looks like.
Yep.
It's not necessarily more leased office space, but they're trying to have, modular, creative, flexible solutions. And so where we are today in the Citizen M Hotel is a great example of where many of my clients look for places, they're regularly having team meetups or all company meetups. And there's a whole bunch of work that someone has to do to figure out where are we going to meet? Where do we have people, just all the logistics around that. And so if you can have a hotel or any kind of co-working space that's designed with this in mind, where people can stay and work in lots of different configurations of the ways in which they may want to meet up and collaborate, that's an exciting option, an exciting third option, rather than just having offices that sit empty the majority of the time.
Yeah, I just, when you're talking about that, I was just thinking, geez, you have co-working spots can be a third space or a third place. The beach could be, which is not very many people work at the beach. And I think all those remote work photos.
They might tell you they do.
It's hilarious. I love the remote work. I mean, I've done it before and sand got all on my keyboard and shit.
Yeah.
I was pissed off. So you know what? The beach is not the best place to work. But as a remote work company, how can you set yourself up for success when you don't necessarily know where that employee is going to work?
That's the whole thing. That's my whole belief system, is that it doesn't matter where the work happens. It's, that people know very clearly what the company mission is. What is the drum that we're all beating towards? Mm-hmm. What are my individual goals? What are my clearly weekly goals, monthly goals, quarterly goals that I'm regularly checking in with my manager on? And if me and my manager and me and my team are in sync, doesn't matter if I'm, doing work on a beach or in a hotel or in my home.
It doesn't matter where you at.
So anyway, we are nearing the end of this interview. I'm going to put you on the spot a
We're
little
going to break into dance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jazz hands. I was you did something there.
Yeah.
Are we going to hear something?
Some groove.
Are we going to hear something on this next question that we didn't know about?
So in closing, where I'm closing all of these interviews with the simple question: is there an interesting factoid about you that not a lot of people know?
Embarrassing would be. I just
see, he's going for the jugular, but
I just want to be. I want to see you change shades and just be like, don't put this on camera.
Not necessarily, but so I was a dancer most of my life.
Excellent.
I knew it. Did you see how she did the dance moves?
No.
She was like, I can't even do it in sync. She was like,
yeah. And fun fact, I was also a cheerleader.
Okay.
And we were super competitive.
Yes.
And in high school, I was on ESPN because top cheerleading in the nation.
We got to look up.
Holy smokes!
That's got to
Give
be on
me a
YouTube.
YouTube. Shelby Wolpa cheerleading. Please send it to us, everybody. That's super cool.
Yes.
Damn,
that's amazing.
That's totally,
I never would have guessed. Yeah.
Not at all. And you know what's weird? Like we were joking earlier that Shelby is just a very calm person when there's chaos. Were you a calm cheerleader?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna hold it together because I did break some noses, give a few concussions because I was the one on top. So I'd be spinning and sometimes accidentally hurt someone.
Jeez, I actually for real, I get sucked into the professional cheering competitions because what they do these days,
oh, it's incredible.
What they do now is so intense. How high they go.
Yeah,
what type of dancing? Were you on the competitive dance team too?
I danced in common.
Fantastic.
Unbelievable. So Shelby, that's great. Dancer, cheerleader.
Where can our viewers find you?
Yes. Yeah, online.
Sure. Yeah. So Shelby Wolpa on LinkedIn, ShelbyWolpaConsulting.com.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for joining us and tolerating our shenanigans.
Yes, and come back anytime. Oh yeah, let's do it. Right, get in. Yeah. Loop that. All right.
You've been listening to the Remotely We Are One podcast. Visit us at remotelyone.com/podcast for upcoming episodes. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and download our episodes on your favorite podcast app.
Hey, don't forget to clock out.